Oh my goodness, it's cold, humans. It's freezing. I am not used to this temperature. I lived in Florida for 8 years. 8 years, I'm not used to this cold. There's actual frost on the ground. Good morning, good day, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you see this, whenever this decides to upload. So I'm starting a new adventure. I actually have an interview next Thursday where I am going to be an ambassador for vestibular disorders. I was diagnosed, I guess I should back up. So my situation's a little bit complicated. I have CPTSD, so sometimes I dissociate, which for me, can sometimes feel like, I guess you could say it's an out-of-body experience. I feel like I'm kind of floating, and I always, for some reason, my body goes this way. I don't know why. So there were a couple times I wasn't sure if I was dissociating or I'm starting to, because sometimes I'll feel like lightheaded or fuzzy, or if something else was going on. And when I started journaling and looking back in retrospective things, my first unusual dizzy, funky feeling, like it's hard to describe, it's just I felt funky, I felt off, was when so my husband got medically retired from the Navy, and I had just graduated with my master's, and it put us in a predicament to where I had to find a job ASAP. And that meant going into jobs into a field that I did not like. I was miserable every day. I was stressed out. I felt bullied by the people there. I did not fit in. It wasn't my cup of tea. And my sleep schedule was just all over the place. So I got up that morning and I felt very sick to my stomach and dizzy. But I was able to manage. And I actually texted my husband and I said, I don't feel good, something's off. And I couldn't really describe what I felt. So, sorry, my phone's all over the place. So I wound up going home because I told my boss, I don't feel right. I feel like I'm gonna get sick. I feel really dizzy. I thought, well, I haven't been eating properly, which very well could be a thing, but that wasn't the main thing. So I thought maybe I just was hungry. I thought, I was getting ready to start my period because I get funky before I start my periods. You know what I'm saying? Women, it sucks to be us. Well, didn't have any issues for months. And then I got a job where I'm currently working. And for the first, the first couple of months I was okay, and then it got really hot in the store, again, Florida, and I was around a lot of TVs. They have fluorescent lighting. It was very busy, very clustered. I actually told one of my coworkers, I feel dizzy. I feel like I need to go sit down. I just kept feeling dizzy. And again, I just chalked it up to my metabolism. Yeah, let's try that one again. My metabolism was speeding up, and maybe I was just hungry. I wasn't getting enough nutrients because I passed out as a kid when I didn't eat breakfast. So it happens. And so again, I just thought that's what it was, but it happened again and again and again, and then it stopped, and then I felt fine. So fast forward to, I'm gonna say it was July. Yeah, it was July. I flew up to go see my mom. Mind you, this was right when COVID hit, but there was no flight restrictions. I went and saw my mom, and things were fine when I got up here to Virginia, and then I flew back. That night, I laid in bed, and I felt the entire room spinning. It felt like when you're really drunk, and the room starts to spin, and you're gonna throw up. It was like being on a tilt-a-whirl. That's the best way I can explain it. I felt like I had been spinning in circles for hours, and my body was trying to adjust. It was awful. But I managed to go to sleep, and then the next morning, I got up, and I think I felt somewhat okay, and then all of a sudden, it hit me what I now know is a drop attack, where I literally could not move. I had to crawl to the bathroom because I thought I was going to vomit. It's still is one of the longest vertigo episodes I had, to where my husband had to take me to the hospital and loop his arm into mine and then get me a wheelchair just to walk, because I was walking like I was drunk. I kept going to the right. I couldn't walk straight. It was god awful. It was god awful. So they said it was vertigo. So they gave me some medication. I was really tired days after, and I'm pretty sure some of it was the medication, but I felt really freaking tired. Like, I had no energy. I still felt really off. Well, that never happened again for a long time. So I made a doctor's appointment when I started feeling funky again, like months later. And this was after my knee surgery. So I had been sitting pretty still, not being super active for 6 weeks. So when I got back to work, I just chalked it up to the fact that I had knee surgery. But I did talk to my doctor. So I told her about the episode, and she's like, oh my goodness, let's get you in with an ENT. And so I went in with this one ENT, and I had an auditory test. There was no fluid in my ear. My hearing was okay. They at least established a baseline. And then I had another episode where I had to pull over. I felt sick to my stomach. I felt like it wasn't as bad as the first time. It was just dizziness, and like I was just like, and then there was a time where I was fine at work and I was walking straight, and all of a sudden my body just goes whoop. The only saving grace was like this four-way that was in front of me that caught me, and I had to go sit down. And I mean, I pushed through work. I really did. There's times I probably shouldn't have, and I did. So I got in with another ENT because the first one said it sounds exactly like Ménière's disease because the ringing in the ear started. I started having severe ringing in the ears. It was mostly in my right ear at first, and then it would go to my left ear. It's still, I want to say it's louder in my right ear, but I get it in my left ear too. It just depends. I would feel the ear fullness. Sometimes now, like looking forward, I don't always feel the fullness in my ears, but I still have the tinnitus, and the tinnitus is almost every single day now. It's really freaking annoying. So I go to a new ENT, and he's on the 3rd floor. Didn't think a damn thing about elevators. I didn't think a thing about it. Thank God there was a nurse in the elevator with me going to the exact same floor. Because when I got out of that elevator, I had another drop attack. It was awful. It scared the hell out of me. And then, so she sat me down. I recovered. She actually checked me in. And then, so I see this specialist, and I'm explaining my symptoms, and I'm explaining how I literally just had an attack coming out of the elevator, and he's checking my ears and everything. Well, he raises the chair up. Mind you, this is a slow moving chair. Like, it's not like I go, boom. Holy crap. Talk about weird. Having a vertigo attack when you're sitting. Bizarre. I actually started crying because it freaked me out. I thought something was seriously wrong with me. So, because the original ENT thought it was just benign proximal or bilateral, whatever, proximal, whatever, that thing. So this doctor 100% diagnosed me with Ménière's. He goes, oh, there's no doubt. There is absolutely zero doubt. So I was prescribed a beta histine, which I found out I was allergic to. I wound up breaking out hives. My whole body felt like it was on fire. So I couldn't take that anymore, which sucks. So here I am. That was like a year ago. I was officially diagnosed with Ménière's. So I've tried to do my research. I do know my triggers. My triggers are most definitely sodium. I can't eat bacon. Bacon sets me off like that. A lot of times what'll happen is I start getting ringing in the ears, or I get dizzy spells. Lack of sleep is definitely a trigger, because that makes people feel funky anyways, you know, you're tired. And because I have CPTSD, when I have a regular trigger with that, I get very hypervigilant, which happened Thursday. and I don't sleep well, and then I get insomnia, and then I get hyper, which used to be what people thought was mania, but it is not mania, just because I haven't slept. I'm tired. I get depressed, I get anxious a lot. So all of this together just makes my condition worse. So I really have to watch my stress level. And then my teeth, I've got to get my teeth fixed. They're horrible. That's stressing me out. Anyways, when I get sick, I do have really bad allergies. When I come down with a sinus infection, obviously that makes it worse. Colors definitely make it worse for me. Certain bright colors I can't handle. Elevators are a no-go. Sometimes I'll get in an elevator and it won't hit me till like 5 minutes later and my body goes, it's so weird. What else are my triggers? I've really tried to back off the caffeine a little bit. I've been struggling right now because it's really cold, so I've tried to switch to like herbal tea. And yeah, so lack of sleep is in my sleep schedule right now with my work. It's like trying to be an advocate for myself is really freaking frustrating because nobody can see it, nobody can understand it, and everybody's like, well, I get vertigo too. That's not, no. There are times when because I can't afford to take off work, I am scared to freaking drive. I know that this may disable me at some point. I'm probably not going to continue being able to do what I do. Because I'm around busy stuff all day, busy moving things all day, loud sounds all day. Dropping a pallet makes my ears ring. So it's scary, it's a struggle, but I continue to try to have a good face on and keep pushing forward, but it has in turn limited me on what I can do. And that has caused some depression, it has caused some anxiety. I went shopping with my mom and I was trying on boots, and it's not like I was bent over or anything. I was sitting and I got vertigo. So, and she noticed it. She's like, oh my God. Like, I literally have to have somebody hold me when we walk on her dock because of the water movement. So sometimes movies set me off. So anyways, I've been doing my research. I'm getting new insurance, so I'm hoping to get in with a good doctor. So just, to follow up and stuff on my condition because I feel like it's getting worse. And I was really hoping it would get better. So I'm hoping that it'll get better when my body steadies a little bit and maybe I don't have as many stressors. I don't know. Some stressors are just hard to avoid. And I've had vertigo while I was sleeping. For hours. I was sleeping for hours, and then all of a sudden I felt like my whole body was just... It was the scariest crap. Just absolutely frightening. Other times I can laugh it off, but this was frightening. So I researched, I believe it's Vita, and I found a lot of information that my doctors never told me. And like the grocery store kind of issue where because it's so clustered and busy and movement and colors and patterns definitely bother me. But I think the hardest thing with this is the exhaustion, and I read up a lot on that as well. But yeah, I'm super excited. I hope that I can be an advocate and be, an ambassador to bring awareness to these disorders, because they are crippling at times, and it literally changes everything that you do in life. It has caused me to pay more attention to myself physically and mentally, which is not in itself, nice signal, jerkface, in itself a bad thing, because that's part of my coping with my CPTSD. But I'm really focused on listening to my body. What is my body telling me today? Okay, Jess, you are tired. You need to limit yourself. I've got to be my own advocate. I'm the one who's feeling this. I'm the one who's going through this. Yesterday, my husband brought up a good point. He's like, you got the time to go shopping, but I get why you don't, because I don't have like 2 days off back to back. So I'm exhausted. I am so tired all the time, and I can't stand it. I have tried vitamins. It's awful. And the migraines too, which has happened more so. Hormones definitely have a key factor in this, and I'd be interested in the research on this, because it definitely seems like right before I get ready to start my period, sorry, little too much information there. The vertigo kicks up and the tinnitus kicks up. So there was one time where I had this really weird episode with the tinnitus where when I spoke, it sounded like an echo. It was weird. It was so weird. Like my voice sounded like a robot. It was weird. I've never had it again. It was just the one time. And I thought moving up here to Virginia, things would be better. And for the most part, they have been. But yeah, I'm really struggling. Like yesterday, we went to breakfast with my parents, and I was exhausted. I had worked 6 days straight, and so there's a ramp coming down, and I about lost it. I literally had to catch myself because of the ramp. It was just going on a ramp. Simple things like that set me off. So imagine having to completely rearrange your life of the most simplest things. And that is why I'm trying to research and see if I can get help getting a service dog. I know that I cannot take the dog with me to work, which sucks. But for just simple outings, I need help. And that is another reason why I wanted to be an ambassador, because I want to help people see that this is a real thing. It's life-altering. It's scary as crap. And we need to give the available resources to those that suffer from this. And more research needs to be done. More advocacy needs to be done. We need more legislation on things, especially when it comes to disability. Yeah, so that's my story.